in that man.
Yeah.
He doesn't. When one man says, well, God wants me to have a Rolls Royce, another says, I'm supposed to have these new Cadillac every year and I'm supposed to be rich and wealthy. Well, if you can't share it with your neighbor, then you're fulfilling the devil's doctrine. You're taking the mark of the beast.
He's wanting you to give it all.
That's right. You're not going to do any good going out and giving away all your goods. Say, Lord, what do you want with this house? What do you want with this car? Lord, take everything I've got and let me not live this ostentatious lifestyle. If you get $1 million, I'm not saying give it away. Put it in the bank, draw some interest on it, and buy some TV time for us. Somebody said, what would you do with $1 million? I'd build a church building. Would you trade cars? No, the one I've got, that 87 Ford, runs fine. I'd buy time on TV. That's what I'd do with it. I don't believe in this. Hey, Bill, look at all the money I came into. Now I get to do this and get to go to Europe twice a year and to Hawaii 3 times a year. That's not what God gives Christians money for. He gives them money to be able to do His work. I don't believe Joseph of Arimathea lived a high lifestyle. And when you were a patriarch like Abraham, you didn't live in a big high living room with a throne back there, in your bedroom, and high. You fed everybody first, and then Abraham would say, bring me a plate back to my room. The animals got fed, all the servants got fed. The patriarchs looked out after everybody first. We don't even know what it means. They didn't say, well, I'm the boss. I'm building me a throne back there in my bedroom, and if any of your servants want to come around, they did not live this high, ostentatious lifestyle. They did not do it.
Wasn't it Solomon that had everything, wasn't happy?
He said, in all his vanity and it he said, I got me men singers and maid dancers and pools of water and everything that my eyes beheld. I did not withhold anything from them. And he said, all his vanity and it vexes me. He couldn't find any happiness in money. Huh? Now let's go back over here, mark of the beast. You see, the mark is very simple. It's always been the same mark, the same boundary line. Let's read on down here in verse 13. Well, verse 12. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose daily wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image. We said last week that the image was female. It was feminine in gender. And that the image in the garden, the word image just means a representation. It's the word icon, E-I-K-O-N. Icon means a representative to the beast, which had the wound by the sword and did live. And I believe that was the destruction of the old Roman Empire re-implemented into Roman Catholicism. And he had the power to give life unto the image of the beast. To the image, we said last week the word "the" is feminine gender. That the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And then we get into the mark. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Now here's the mark. The word mark is the word charagma. C-H-A-R-A-G-M-A. Let me write this down. Now, you know, the mark, if we could understand that God don't change and sin don't change, the devil's not going to come up with some weird, spooky message at the end of time that breathes fire and scares everybody to death. Is he? That's not going to seduce anybody, is it? Didn't even erase my numbers up there. That's not going to... Huh?
The mark of the beast is going to be a bloodmobile or a Department of Human Service truck come around. And
yeah.
We're going to be talking casually one day. Well, I've been thinking about getting one in my head, but then everybody would see it. So,
yeah.
Our family's going with the hand, you know.
It has to do with the law. It has to do with the law. You remember, I told you last week, always a slave would have either a mark in his head or his forehead who he served. And God told His people in the 6th chapter of Deuteronomy, take my law, put it before your eyes, put it on your hand. That's what the mark is about. It's about a boundary line. It's about nothing but a boundary line. It's about where Satan operates, and when God set up His boundary, said don't get out of this boundary. Eat of all these trees. That's legal food for sheep. You're my flock. Eat of all of them. Satan said, God don't mind. Let's include this tree over here, okay? And he moved the boundary line, set the markers up out there, and included forbidden food. The flesh. What if I said the flesh? What if I said covetousness? What if I said lust? Fulfilling, breathing hard after that which is forbidden. Whew. Now, He causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark. Charagma. C-H-A-R-A-G-M-A. It comes from the word C-H-A-R-A-X. And that word charax, the word charagma, let me give it to you here. It means an etching, a badge of servitude. It showed who you were serving, and they put on all the slaves a band on their head. Now the Jews did it literally. They showed who they thought they were serving by putting their phylacteries on their head, and they thought it'd make them more religious by carrying a big phylactery. I'm not carrying a big Bible for show. I carry my big Bible for big borders on it so I can put lots of marks in it. Big Bible for show. And that was the mark of God on them. That was supposed to be upon the Jews. He didn't mean put it on your forehead and on your hand. He meant keep it before your eyes, keep it at your right hand, put it in the path where you walk, by your bed where you lie down, where you rise up, on your gates. And that was God's mark. That was God's law, His boundary line, His stake. Eat of my Father's will. That's what He was saying. I have a meat to eat of. It's to do the will of my Father. We could find the mark of the beast if we'll just define what sin is.
What does that mean?
Huh? A badge. And that's what they wore, a badge to show. It was like a badge. They wore a band around their head to show who they served. The law. You remember the Jews put their law before their eyes? And they actually showed who owned them, and every harlot had a band around her head, and we find the harlot, I believe, is the image.
So you're saying at the end time they're going to write laws.
It's already written, Mary.
We will rebel against.
We're already rebelling.
If we don't go.
Yeah, we're already rebelling, aren't we? If the United States falls and there's no government, and I believe it's going to fall, no one will have any constitutional rights. No one will have any civil rights. And you'll say, what about the Constitution? I say, there is none. We're under the rule of the world order. I believe America is leading the world into it. And the message is going to be the same. Here's how they'll think they do God's service there in John 16:1. They'll be saying, look, we've got a world problem with food and famine, and the world is starving. And here we are, United Nations, trying to take care of the world, and you Christians are really stirring up. You're doing something very unrighteous. You think just a few of you can sit there and talk about these things that we shouldn't be doing. We got a world to take care of. If we have to, we'll stop you by putting you to death. And they'll think they do a righteous service because they got a world to take care of. A world of starving hordes in China, in India, and we'll be trying to stand for the truth, and they'll say, we'll be like a wart on their little finger. We'll just be an irritation. If they have to, we'll die. Well, not only will they have to, we will have to, and we will die for this message. The message of the beast is already here. The mark is already here. And that word charax means a stake set up on a boundary line. So the mark of the beast is already here. His message is already here. It was here in the garden. It was good words and fair speeches. No cutting and rebuke. No. See, if I rebuke a man for sin, I want him to get out of it. I want my brother to get away from that doctrine. I believe it's a hellish doctrine. is not what the Bible teaches. It doesn't crucify itself and crucify the
How
flesh.
does that number fit in there?
Okay. Okay, let's look at this. All right. That no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, the stake on the boundary line, or the little word or means here is another mark or name.
Sorry.
Mark or means here is another meaning for mark, his authority.